Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Sif for fun.
Hey, what's up? I'm that Matt kid. I don't have anything Star Warsy to say. Yeah.
The Force is not with Matt, but it is with me.
There we go. You know, Steve, you really fucked that up because you would have said, it is with me, Steve Baxley, but you just stopped dead.
It can't be me if I don't do like 90% right and then just fucking screw up the landing.
Sounds like a Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just Luke Skywalker's entire character arc, man.
Have you guys ever heard that old joke that's like, if Star Wars was D&D, then Han Solo maxed out his charisma stat and just keeps rolling ones?
I like it. I do like it. Anyway, yeah, so today we're reviewing Star Wars. I mean, like, I guess I could call it Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, but I just usually just go with Star Wars or A New Hope when I'm talking about this movie. I don't tend to go through the whole title. I don't tend to, like any other movie, like I'll say Empire or Return of the Jedi or Last Jedi or whatever. But this is the one I just call Star Wars for the most part. And I mean, full disclosure, I just wanted to talk about I just wanted to watch Star Wars again because I just finished up Rebels. So I was like, you know what, I want to watch Star Wars. I want to watch the original film again. Just because it put me in a fucking mood. And man, didn't disappoint. I really like this movie, guys. I controversial opinion. And this is why I'm definitely not a Star Wars fan. I really like Star Wars.
There are no Star Wars fans in this call because I believe we all like Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is cool. People who don't like Star Wars are kind of lame, TBH, because Star Wars is the best thing ever.
I didn't realize this until literally just now as a 26-year-old, but lightsabers are fucking awesome, and I want one.
Right?
I fucking love a lightsaber, man. Solves so many problems.
Can't get this jar open. Well,
I got this nice stick of heated plasma. That should do the job.
My father
yes,
gave me
indeed.
this jar opener. He wanted you to have it when you were old enough.
That's the thing about this movie, right? Is it like every fucking time I go back and rewatch Star Wars, I've consumed some other piece of like Star Wars material that has now informed a different viewing experience for this original movie. Because this original movie feels like such a fucking time capsule, partially because of the way George Lucas's script plays out. This is before Lawrence Kasdan shows up and makes the dialogue slightly less fucking weird. And so this movie's just bizarre, and I kind of love how much of it just feels of its own. It's really cool to go back to.
I'm kind of halfway between Matt and Ian because literally just this morning I finished watching all of Clone Wars, including the final season, for the first time. And then tonight I watched A New Hope for the first time in a little while. So I've had like all of the Clone Wars context leading into this movie, which is kind of great. But then just sitting down and watching it, I'm like, wow. You just think about this movie alone, and it's uncanny just how many different ways this universe could have gone compared to what we ended up with.
Yeah, like you fought with my father in the Clone Wars. That's like 100% what we see in Clone Wars. What has been like fully fleshed out by this point is 100% not what is implied in that moment. You know, it's so funny how that works out. There's like so many things like.
Well, and even like the relationship R2 and C-3PO have to the main cast, where like clearly Anakin making them as a slave on Tatooine was not the plan from the start.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's still my favorite fucking robot chicken joke. Is just, and as a child, I built C-3PO.
Well, that just seems improbable.
And then the Force, there's midichlorians in your bloodstream.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, if you're not going to take this seriously, neither am I.
Yeah, I fucking love it. Like, there's just so many things like that. Like, here's a weird one. So, like, Obi-Wan says, I was a Jedi Knight, and Luke doesn't, like, look at him like that's some kind of shocker. That's just, like, a thing that apparently a lot of people used to be, or a select number of people used to be. He doesn't seem surprised at all that his father was a Jedi, to get that revelation from Obi-Wan, when you have the context of the Jedi were turned into the enemy of the people, and, like, all this. It's so interesting how much is implied in this movie and how much is just kind of taken and gone off into a direction that's not necessarily lining up very well with the implications in a still cool way, but still it's interesting to look at.
Mm-hmm. And what I liked about that specifically, though, and going back to this, because I did a whole saga rewatch recently with my good buddy Smugstick Luis, and we went through from 1 to 9 because we wanted to do it in chronological order. But like for a new person, I 100% believe you have to start at 4, because 4 is where it does all the world building and it establishes what the Force actually is and what all of these different concepts are and why you should think. So for me, the scene with Luke never really read as he doesn't react in shock. He doesn't know what the fuck everyone's talking about. Like he doesn't know what a Jedi even is. Like he doesn't know what and I think he goes to the end of this film still not really knowing until he meets Yoda what most of this actually is, because he has so little time with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's not really explaining things. He's just stating his version of facts, at least. So like when you're
From
thrown
a
into this
certain
world,
point of view.
yeah, exactly. And what's so good about this is just a singular film is that certain point of view thing kind of takes over the whole movie, where you're right, Stephen, that this could have gone in so many different directions because so much is up to interpretation of like what even. There are no overt Force powers in this film except for like the Jedi mind trick, but even that is like there are no visual representations of the Force. But yet in this film it almost seems like bigger than it ever is, because like Vader's like, yeah, Death Star, nothing, and it's like, but what is he gonna do with, like, you've got the Force choke, but even that is not like, it's not like he's pulling something towards him. There's like, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, there's like a different implication of exactly what he's doing, and later it's kind of that becomes telekinesis effectively. But like, it's like, is he like, what is he doing to him exactly? Is it a telekinetic choke or is it something more? Yeah, that's a good point.
There's so much from this film that just as it is puts you in the perspective, and it's a really good franchise opener. It's probably why Star Wars took off the way it is. More than anything, I guess Harry Potter is probably the next thing, is like, you are in Luke's shoes 100%, because you do not know what the fuck is going on. You're just here. This isn't the start of anything. This isn't episode 1. Even when it was made as just Star Wars, it was meant to be filled in as like, oh, there's a big backstory towards this. And it's not like Luke is even the main character, because other people do other stuff, and like his agency in this film really doesn't come until the end. So there's a really strong sense of you, the audience, are being introduced to a universe, and the universe isn't going to sit and wait for you, which is rare to get in a franchise opener.
It is the most opening mid-res as you possibly get, you know. That chase with Leia and Vader's ship is just so good to start it off with.
Oh yeah.
And also, I think I'm going to steal Ian's point that he probably wants to make at some point, but Star Wars is also just the movie that invents modern film pacing and modern film.
Thank you for like, I don't know, I say stuff like that and sometimes people just kind of nod and agree, and I don't know if they're like, oh man, he's a fucking idiot, he doesn't understand anything about film, but like, legit, there's so much that happens in this film that like,
oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like this is the movie that changes everything. This is why we have blockbuster cinema. This is why we have mega franchises the way we do. That evolution has gotten faster as time has gone on, but this is where it all starts, and you really feel it because like just from the opening seconds of the movie, where you get a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the music just booms. And then you get the opening crawl, and it's like nothing you would have ever seen at that point in history. Like, obviously, there's the old school films, heroes, and stuff it's based on, but that contextually is so far removed from when this movie came out, and it just completely blows your expectations. Like, compare this to any other 70s movie, and it doesn't move. It moves so much faster. It's got so much more going on, and it's got the sort of modern idea of ensemble casts where there's no like one character that's your quote unquote core protagonist. There are a lot of people filling a lot of roles, and you've got one person that's maybe like your eyes into the world, but they're not even necessarily the person that's like driving the plot along. They're just kind of there to show you along several stop posts of what this world is here to offer. And we just make everything like this. Like, you don't run into a TV show now that doesn't on some level have the same sort of like ensemble cast approach that starts here with Star Wars.
It's really interesting because like you don't get Luke until what, 20 maybe 25 minutes into the film, something like that. It's a while because like everything that happens on Leia's ship is a pretty good chunk of the intro of this movie, and then you've got, you know, R2 and C-3PO in the desert with the Jawas, and it's just by the time you get to Luke, it almost feels like, oh, so now the droids are going to escape from this farm boy kind of thing, and they're going to go and carry on their mission. And then you spend just enough time with Luke that you're like, okay, maybe he's the main character. It's really interesting. But then you're introduced to Obi-Wan. It's like, oh, so this is the real main character. And then Obi-Wan dies like an hour later into the movie. That he's mysteriously Ghost Voice.
I also just kind of forgot how, because it jumps around in that way, I almost forgot like just how fucking infectious every single person on screen is every single time they first show up. Like, Luke is, I think, pretty instantly a likable, fun character, and he's probably some of the best stuff we've done with Luke in the whole franchise is in this first movie for me, because I just love every scene he's in. I like the way Mark Hamill plays him. He's got
go
like
to Tashi Station and pick up some power converters.
He just feels like a kid in a lot of ways, and he's fun to watch. Han Solo is perfect from scene one. Like he's probably the breakout as far as that goes. And Obi-Wan is just fascinating and quirky and weird. And I think that's the thing we lost with the development of the prequel trilogy and everything, which is every character that's associated with the old Republic is just kind of batshit crazy on some level for some reason. Like, Obi-Wan is kooky as hell. Yoda is kooky as hell. R2 and C-3PO. Like, every time we meet anybody who shows up in the prequel movies, they're just fucking weird.
Yeah, I like a lot of that. It's weird for me because I remember watching Star Wars for the first time, and I don't know, is it weird to say that it feels like the Empire has been around for longer than just the duration of Luke's life based on the tone of it in this film?
Oh god,
The intention,
yeah, sure.
Decades.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird because that's the thing when you try to recontextualize this movie because when you look at it as a standalone film versus comparing it to the story that surrounds it, it is so weird to say like, oh, well, this Empire that everyone hates or that Luke hates, it's only been around for like, what, 2 decades, if that?
Okay, we were talking about this at work the other day. How old is Luke supposed to be in this? Luke
19,
and Leia in respect?
19.
Yeah.
Okay. All
This
right,
is
that
19
tracks.
BBY.
Okay. Yeah, that tracks then.
Oh, this is BBY. Never mind. It's 19 BBY is Reg of the Sith.
Yeah. I was fucking doing them. I was trying to figure out how old the character that Katie Sackhoff plays in Mando was supposed to be, so I have this math fresh in my head. And I'm just like, well, I guess the Empire's only been around for about 19 years, and then it lasts another, what, like 4 after that, and then...
I think the original trilogy, the gap in time is equivalent to the gap in time that the movies came out, if I'm remembering correctly.
4 years.
It is 4 years?
It's officially 4 years, yeah.
Between New Hope and Empire?
No, between New Hope and the end of Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought the time skips were equivalent to the actual time skips of the films. Or the actual time between the films. I remember hearing that somewhere.
Close-ish.
Well, and to your point about the Empire, the Jedi seem like they should have died out much, much longer ago.
Yeah, you have to kind of almost justify that and say, like, you know, the Empire has purposefully erased the history of the Jedi. And I mean, there's also the idea of that, you know, it's a big fucking galaxy and Tatooine is in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. So,
Sure.
like, there is a lot of that, and I think you can get away with that to a degree.
But there's no reason why, especially with the context of the Clone Wars now, there's no reason why Imperials who worked with the Republic prior to it becoming the Empire should say the Force is just some weird sorcery.
I don't know. Like, I think they do a pretty good. I don't want to make this too much about like what the franchise has become, but like I will say, I think they do a pretty good job of like the Republic officers, even in Clone Wars, just talking about like looking at the Jedi and seeing them as kind of just odd and kooky and thinking that they're really not all that. Like, I really like that episode of Clone Wars where Tarkin and Anakin kind of get along. I thought that was
that
a cool
episode a lot
too.
too, but my thing is just like, I think there's a difference between the Republic officers who become the Imperial officers just not thinking the Jedi are like effective or good or all that helpful and just thinking of them as like weird monks. There's a difference between that and like literally thinking the Force doesn't exist for some reason.
I don't know, man, because legitimately, alright, the galaxy is, like, I think when people talk about this, they underestimate exactly how big a galaxy is. Like, people forget things in, like, so-called civilized countries in, like, 5 years completely, and they don't know anything. If you're under a fascist galaxy, look, yeah, 20 years, you could do it in 10. Like, it's easy to do like that, the dispersion of information and to spread myth, especially for something like the Force and how Jedi use the Force. I think you'd have a different conversation if they were all a bunch of Sith like Darth Vader, right? Where they're Force choking people and they're using it on people all of the time. The fact that the Jedi are taught to not use the Force aggressively when they can, at least in the films, they mostly take out droids with like lightsabers and stuff. You can get away with kind of like, well, most people aren't there to watch these battles because civilians won't be on these front lines anyway. All they hear is the propaganda, and from that you can just explain, oh yeah, they're good with swords, is what you get from. So no, I actually think it's...
Well, but also...
The EU makes it muddlier, I will give you that, like Legends particularly, when the people start doing crazy shit, but just as it is in the films and like the canon thing, I will argue that it's completely viable.
Well, my thing is just that the way Clone Wars sets it up, and we can move on from this point. I just wanted to clarify real quick, but like the way Clone Wars sets it up is that the Senate, the Republic, and the Jedi are so intertwined with each other that they just kind of have to hang out constantly, and that's the big problem of that show. I mean, not problem in a bad way, but just like with the conflict. And Tarkin hangs out with Anakin. Like, there's all those episodes that work. And Clone Wars sets up really, really well that a lot of the Imperial officers that Darth Vader works with were working with Anakin Skywalker as the wars were happening. And so it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me with that context in mind that people in the Empire that were literally in the Republic just a few years ago in this exact same context would forget that the Force is a thing. Like, especially in that Senate room when Tarkin's standing right there next to Vader. And he was right there next to Anakin as Anakin literally started force pulling and pushing things in front of him.
Yeah, but Tarkin does believe. That's the difference
Right,
with Tarkin.
but everyone else in that room is in the exact same boat. There were other Imperial officers who would show up in this movie that showed up in Clone Wars that saw and hung out with Jedi.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into it. It's like it's muddy and everything. I think that's one of those things of like, you know, putting in a cool reference for the sake of a cool reference and not necessarily thinking through the full implications of it. Anyway, I want to talk more just about the movie itself, because yeah, it's such a groundbreaking film in so many ways that really fascinates me. Like, there's a really good video essay on YouTube. I think it's called "Saved by the Edit," where this guy breaks down some of the original cuts of this movie, and like I have the Blu-ray of the Star Wars collection that they released like right before George sold the thing to Disney. I was like waiting. I was like, all right, I could buy each of these movies on Blu-ray, or I could wait for a collection of all 6 movies to finally drop on Blu-ray. And then it did. And I'm like, cool, good. Now I have all of Star Wars. Like 2 months later, George Lucas sells Star Wars to Disney. Now there's making another trilogy. Motherfucker. But anyway, so like, you know, I've seen deleted scenes from this first film, and it's so interesting how like there was going to be this whole section on Tatooine where like you see Luke, you know, using his binoculars or whatever to look up, and he's like, oh, there's a battle happening in the atmosphere, what's going on up there? And then he talks to Wedge or whatever his name is for a little bit. It's like, oh man, you're leaving the academy to go join the rebellion? That's, I want to be like that, but I've got to stay on my farm with Uncle Owen. And there's all this stuff like that. And it was this really interesting thing because so many of Lucas's friends and fellow filmmakers had a big impact on this film, because the original cut of Star Wars was pretty bad, and it was saved in the edit because of all these suggestions that these people made, and Lucas's, I think it was Lucas's wife at the time, if I'm not mistaken, even did some of the actual physical editing herself.
Yeah, they actually go into that in the like Empire of Dreams documentary, which is fairly uncritical and pretty self-congratulatory, but they do talk about how George ended up having to like let go editors because they weren't wanting to edit it in a way that he was wanting to edit it. They were wanting to edit it more in line with science fiction of the 70s and just of the time. And so you're like 100% on the money there that his wife would come in and help edit it, 'cause she was working on another project not far. And the amount of cuts they went through in this movie to get it to the state that it's in is crazy. And it's a testament to the power of editing, for sure.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And so it's kind of interesting because, you know, there's been that push for at least 2 decades now to return the film to its original cut, its original theatrical cut. And there's a really interesting argument made about the reason that Lucas is so adamant about, you know, releasing all these alternate cuts. You know, you got the 94, the 97, the 2011 cut of Star Wars with all these changes, is because, well, the movie was saved in the edit, but it wasn't saved by him in the edit. And so he's always trying to like go back and just put like that little extra stamp on it. And sometimes there's some stuff in it that I think's kind of neat and kind of cool with the touch-ups. I'll defend the big CGI dance number in Jabba's palace. I actually quite like it in the Return of the Jedi. It's just a cool jazz number, you know. And I like the guy with his saliva right at the camera. But you know, as someone that's done editing and stuff like that before, I can't help but feel like George is just like, oh man, I got my hands on a new toy, now I want to go back and touch up my old project. Like I feel that energy coming off of all the changes, and it's so fascinating the effect that editing has had on Star Wars. It's kind of like, I literally can't think of another like film on the same tier as Star Wars that has had more of a impact by just editing, and the fact that that like it has sparked a conversation and honestly like a deeper level of appreciation for editors, which are usually, you know, pushed to the background as far as filmmaking credit goes. Like who won the Emmy for best editing last year at the Oscars? Does anyone know?
No idea.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, certainly films like Blade Runner have been made immensely better by different cuts being released that are either cutting out stupid narration shit or just adding back in things that actually make the story make sense. So, like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think Star Wars is one of the most high-profile examples of that, especially just when it was getting made and all of Lucas's friends were either saying, this is kind of shit, or like, oh, no, I think this could be better if you maybe made some changes here, which is something that Lucas didn't really have going into the prequels. But, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to be said for just how much was kind of working against George making this movie. There's something about this movie that's really cool when you know just how much the universe did not want it to happen. Because he pitched this to so many people and everyone was just like, nah, fuck off. And when he finally got it made, I mean, he got pushed back every step of the way. And so it's an amazing story just to hear about how it was made, let alone just the movie itself.
Yeah, no, it's such a cultural icon. It spawned like so much. Like everything has a Star Wars reference in it, you know? Like I love that that phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just everyone is going to lose a hand. In each of these movies, someone is going to lose a hand as a Star Wars reference. And I just think that's the coolest shit. But like Star Wars, the first film in particular has got like so many iconic lines and moments that have just stuck. I mean, I've got a bad feeling about this is like a cliche now, and it all comes from this movie, you know? Like the humor in this film is like the initial stamp on the blockbuster style of humor that I think is kind of interesting, because you know, I remember when Last Jedi came out, one of my only complaints with that film is I thought the humor was a little too standard blockbustery, whereas the humor in Star Wars has tended to lean more to like slapstick. But you know, just going back to this movie and watching it, I'm like, nah, it's got that like quippy, quick little gags and you know, dialogue moments that are really just, you know, the bread and butter of blockbuster style comedy, and it's kind of crazy that it's so ingrained that it's kind of hard to notice unless you're looking for it.
Like that whole Han Solo exchange with like, we're fine, everything's fine, how are you? Like that is the origin of that kind of like every kind of kooky exchange that is probably ad-libbed, but like that energy is what has been dawned here and birthed here and then transferred onwards, and it's a straight line. Like it literally feels timeless almost, because it's that exact kind of high octane in the middle of an action sequence, but like just something pure ridiculous but played so perfectly straight. As you can imagine yourself in that situation, it helps humanize everything about the whole thing. So no, you're 100% right. And
no, like I was like literally I was just watching Wonder Woman 1984, and there's that whole scene where Steve Trevor is trying to handcuff himself to Maxwell Lord, and like and the whole battle through the White House, and he's taken out the fodder and stuff. And one of the Secret Service agents does like a judo move, and he goes, that's interesting. And then he does that same judo move on Maxwell Lord. He's like, I just learned that. And I'm like, yeah, it's the exact same fucking energy. You know, here we are 30, 40 years later. It's the exact same kind of feel. Shit's crazy, man.
What do you guys... Well, go ahead if you got something.
No, you're fine.
What do you guys feel about, because this is, given we're talking about this film particularly, and this is kind of his shining thing, and I always kind of like this character. How do you feel about the villain of the piece? How do you guys feel about Tarkin?
I love Tarkin. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and he's so good in this.
Yeah, I like Tarkin in this quite a bit. I've never been like a huge Tarkin fan, but obviously Peter Cushing definitely kills it here. He's menacing, he's threatening, he's just fucking evil as shit, and he's great. It's so cool to like. It's just strange revisiting this movie, even not even seeing the prequels, but like seeing the rest of 5 and 6, where it's like Vader almost doesn't even feel like the Vader that he will be in 5 and 6 yet. You know, it's you know, and he's kind of answering to this Tarkin person, and it's, I don't know, it's really interesting. It's cool because you get to have your big threatening villain, but then you also get this conniving Imperial who's just absolutely fantastic.
Well, there's all these great exchanges where essentially Vader is just a dog on Tarkin's leash. I think that's almost literally what they call him too, which is kind of great. In that 3-movie trilogy, Vader shows up for like collectively like a half an hour or something around that effect. Like, he's a really memorable, imposing cinematic villain for being there for such a short time. But most of this movie really is just like Tarkin kind of mind fucking people and being a boss and being in charge. When he blows up Alderaan, like that scene still really hits. It's still really fucked up that he gets to give up the rebel base.
Target, a military target, then reveal the system. Name the system.
So
and then
good.
like I fucking love the moment where it's like they get to the rebel base or they get to the planet Leia names, and it's like an abandoned rebel base. He goes, she lied. She lied. Like, he's insulted that his like most masterstroke intimidation tactic and his destruction of Alderaan for it just didn't work for her. I'm like, oh, that's so fucking dumb. Because like, it puts Leia in just an impossible situation, and it's great because it shows that she's not a traitor, but she was willing to you know, gamble everything, even at the like highest cost, and it wouldn't have mattered if she betrayed people anyway. I really like how that frames Leia's character. She gets so awesome in this movie.
I really like the backstory too with Peter Cushing, Alec Guinness, and Carrie Fisher, because originally Cushing was going to play Obi-Wan, and then they gave it to Alec Guinness, but apparently those two guys are friends. And everyone on the set apparently just got like so close to each other that Carrie Fisher had legitimately a hard time hating Tarkin on set just because she likes Peter Cushing so much.
Yeah, she talks about like she had to say, oh yeah, when I walked in, I could smell your slime or something to that effect, right? But then like Carrie Fisher was like, yeah, but like he's like the most good smelling man I've ever met in my life. Like he's like a saint. He's like, he walks on set and you're wrapped in by his aura. It was legitimately one of the hardest acting trials I've ever had in my life. And that's so cool as well, because that as like a fan of like British. This is just how much like Star Wars changes everything. Is not only does this do everything like American cinema, this really is kind of like the culmination that all the Hammer horror movies were like doing, which was how Peter Cushing kind of got like his rose to fame. Is he's very much playing a Hammer horror, Dr. Frankenstein effectively, but to its zenith, where Frankenstein monster invader in kind of taking that role is done in a way where you don't question Vader's competency. They don't. They definitely appear like Tarkin's the one who's controlling him. But Vader, when he gets told off by Tarkin, isn't exactly like whimpering or anything. He's just like, yeah, okay, fine. Like he's very calm about it still. No one raises their voice in this except when it's like to the end. And that's a really good way of showing a sterile and cold environment for your villains, which we then juxtaposition where we go to meet the heroes, and they're all just fucking messes, and like all of them are weird and quirky and everything, compared to and like out of control and can't really handle the situation. But that's what gives them that passion and fire and humanity, which is very Nazi, totalitarian inspired empire is just completely lost, and that's what gives them the edge. Like again, it's just even on that basis, even if you don't get the rest of the backstory of what the empire even is, it tells you all you need to know about why they are doomed to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I love the duel so much between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and Darth Vader shows up and he's like, when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master. Like, I love how it's just like, it's confident, but it's not like big and showy. And that whole duel is just like slow and methodical. It's almost like an old school samurai movie where they're each just making like one little move at a time before somebody dies.
Yeah, I don't know. The duel on that one is one of those things where I'm like, I think it is very wisely shot and choreographed and done to the actors' capabilities. And so it makes it look more impressive than it otherwise is kind of the way I've thought about that duel. Because I think the other really good example of like when that wasn't necessarily done is the duel between Sidious and Windu in Revenge of the Sith, where like both of those guys were, Sam Jackson would have been late 50s by that point, I want to say, maybe mid 50s. And obviously Ian McDermott was pretty old by that point too, and yet they're supposed to have the most epic, like, intense duel, and like you read the novelization of Revenge of the Sith's like depiction of that duel, and it's like every piece of furniture became a high battleground, everything, the entire office turned into the greatest war field ever. And I'm just like, you just look at it, it's just Sam Jackson and Ian McDermott like left right and it's kind of funny because like they did their best, I'm certain, but like that's not framed to their strengths or to their physical capabilities the way that the Vader Obi-Wan duel is in this film. So it's one of those things where I'm like, personally, I do like some of the wire foo of the prequels, maybe a little bit more than I should. Again, I can't help but feel like George is just a kid with toys at that point, and he's just so obsessed with all the CGI that he can do that he's kind of losing some of it. But it's still fun. I still really enjoy it. Whereas this, I think, is just framed the best it's ever going to be. Or the best it could be at the time. I still think the best duel in the original trilogy comes down to Luke versus Vader round 2 and Return of the Jedi.
I agree with you there as far as OT duels go. Yeah,
I like the Empire duel a little bit better, I will say, but overall, I'm definitely agreeing with the majority of your actual intelligent points that are not just about ranking fucking Star Wars fights. Yes,
Top 10 Star Wars fights. Let's go.
Number 5.
Coming in at number 1.
But yeah, I'm in terms of like this duel exactly and how it's framed. What really strikes me the most about this is. And I guess because I just love talking about fucking old British actors, apparently, when I'm talking about Star Wars, is fucking Alec Guinness in this film, man, is a class act of how, even if you don't believe in the project, you bring your fucking A game. Like, that's an actor right there. That's a fucking guy who's like, I might not be fully, like, this is pretty. To be fair, at the time, most people working on this film were like that, except for George. And even some days, George was like that. But Alec Guinness is probably the one, and Harrison Ford, like came out afterwards, because he probably just got sick of it. But like, how he plays Obi-Wan.
But who shot first?
I don't care. I really don't care. How Alec Guinness, he plays with this with like the twinkle in his eye, the slight little smiles, how he delivers his line with such calm grace. It's like Obi-Wan, we learn later on, and again, like other things informing this, but Obi-Wan, we learn again, is probably the biggest symptom of like failure when it comes to a Jedi, is like he failed on the biggest scale possible, like and everything comes back to bite him, and he basically loses everything. Like Obi-Wan doesn't get to have a big heroic, even like Last Jedi Luke moment where he inspires billions. Obi-Wan's largely forgotten after he dies. But what really sticks out to me is like he goes into that with Vader. Even in this film, the way they've portrayed Vader and the way they've portrayed Obi-Wan, you don't think Obi-Wan's gonna fucking win this. Like just looking at the perspective, like you know he's not got this. But they go into it and they play, and when he turns around, he doesn't say anything. Like a lesser film would have had him say something. Turns around, looks at Luke, looks back at Vader, and he gives probably the most iconic smile in film history, and he just accepts his death. It's like, man, that fucking like gives me hope going towards death. I want to be able to smile at the Reaper like that. Like, that is such a fucking brilliant move for a master character, of how we introduce this character who informs us all about this lore of the Jedi, and we get so tantalizingly close that we just want to hear more from this guy, because whenever he's on screen, he steals the show. Every single line he says is brilliant. Everything he says is just telling us more about this wonderful world. And then he's taken from you pretty early fucking on. But that's the point, is now you gotta figure.
I'd say it's about the midpoint.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But like, it's especially like in the larger scheme of the trilogy as well. But like in this film as well, it's like it's such a good use of that again informs everything that comes after. Is Obi-Wan kind of sets the template of how blockbusters do mentor characters.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I really like the mystery and the like what surrounding Obi-Wan's death, and like just how well it's played with like Vader. Because I remember when I was a kid and like, you know, playing lightsaber duels. I remember like, you know, a friend hit me with a lightsaber and he goes, so you can't use that arm anymore because I got you. I'm like, no, I'm doing like the other rules with lightsabers, where when you're hit you disappear and then you come back later. He's like, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, dude. And we went into the thing and popped in the fucking VHS tape and to prove it. Then we just ended up watching Star Wars because I couldn't remember exactly where it was. But yeah, like I fucking love the mystery of just, okay, so now he's just gone, and we've seen at that point what a lightsaber does to someone. Because Obi-Wan cut off that one dude's arm, and now he's just like vanished off the station. There's nothing left behind of him, and then like 2 seconds later you hear his voice, and it's just that, to your earlier point, Alfie, that is like the just wow level of the Force in this, where it's just, what is this? So fascinating. Cool. Yep.
I gotta admit, this is just one of those movies where, like, you talk about it, and then I just kind of want to watch it again. And I just watched it like 2 hours ago.
The first Geeky Gentleman review to turn into a live commentary.
I mean,
Fuck, I do it. I
maybe.
fucking love that movie.
You know, it's funny because I also really like, you know, George being able to kind of revisit things and be able to, you know, have the ability to go back and, you know, because George was essentially making this, you know, practically independently, especially when you get to the I cannot talk. Especially when you get to Empire and Return, you know, he was someone who had everything against him, so it makes sense that he would want to, now that he has the freedom and kind of the respect that he didn't have making this movie, that he would want to go back and add things. I am definitely in the camp that it is really unfortunate that we can't see it in its original form, because not all the additions are fun touches. Some of them are things that actively make the movie worse, like the Jabba the Hutt scene that is just redundant. Things like that.
It looks so bad to see Han try to step over his tail, and like you know, I watched this on my HD screen, and like they didn't know what they were doing with masking techniques at the time, and so Han just gets all blurry as he steps over Jabba's tail for like a couple seconds there. It's so bad.
It looks so bad. It repeats the same information and even some of the same lines from the Greedo scene. Like, he even has the same, like, oh, I don't need smugglers who drop their shipment at the first time in an Imperial. Like, that's the exact same line that's in the Greedo scene. And it gets rid of the mystery of hearing about Jabba the Hutt for 2 movies, and then you get to see him in Return of the Jedi. Like, it just fucking... it's like one of the most asinine changes, and I just don't... And so, like, on some level, I totally respect that Lucas has a freedom and respect that he did not have when he was making these movies, and I get where that desire comes from. But on some level, I have to be like, you have to understand that you've put 2 scenes in your movie that are the same fucking scene, right?
I mean, there's like a whole documentary. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I remember years ago I watched a whole documentary. I think it was The People versus George Lucas, where a lot of people were talking about this, and like, all right, if fucking I can't remember the name of the big abstract artist that like put cigarette ashes in his paintings and shit. It's like, if he came back today and saw one of his paintings and was like, oh, there's some cigarette ash there. That was an accident. And he like wiped it off. The art community would like, you know, reel in horror because that's so not what it was. It's like, oh, that like pulled the whole piece together. It's like, well, I didn't want it there. It was just an accident. Well, no, the accident was beautiful. Like that's kind of what Lucas has done to the films, and I don't know. I would be so much more supportive of him doing that if he just. It's not that like. He's doing it and it's a problem that he's doing it. It's that he's doing it and he's trying to cover up the original cut of the films that bothers me so much because like the Library of Congress does this thing where they accept things as such important works of art and culture that they archive them permanently. So if there's a fucking, you know, world nuclear war, this thing could be saved. And they've accepted Star Wars into that, and they just need a copy of the film on celluloid, and Lucas keeps sending them the special editions. And they're like, no, we want the original film because it's the original film. It's that like that. It's not just the way it's cut, but like there's other subtle things that have been changed, like the original sound design and mixing of the film is so particular, and some of the original score that John Williams put has now been overwhelmed by added sound effects during the battle on the Death Star that weren't in the original cut, and like John Williams' score won the Oscar that year, and so you can't like literally you can't hear it anymore at points in the film because of edits that Lucas has made. And so I would be perfectly happy if he wanted to do that, if he just also had the original still available. Like, you could do something stupid and put it on, like, the special gold edition original cut, you know, it's $100 per disc or something. I don't care. I can pirate it later, but I just wish the original cut was out there for the public. Like, you know, now that he's sold Star Wars to Disney, I give it like a week after that man drops dead before Disney releases the original cuts as like and makes a big to-do about it. I give it a week tops.
I don't know, man. I'm always on Lucas's side with this personally. Really? Especially in my film.
It's because you fucking made DBDC episode 1 and you hate it.
Legitimately, man. Like, because legit, that isn't your... I know the fucking argument is, right? Like, once you make it to the public, like, the art becomes the public and it's theirs. Yeah, I get it, right? Yeah? But they didn't make it. That's my shit, right? Like, you don't fucking own that shit. I do. So if I choose what thing to be represented as my artwork, then that's what I choose to re-represent, because that is art is such a personal expression. And if
I would agree with that to a certain extent, if not for the fact that it is filmmaking, which is the most collaborative art form.
That's true.
And his edits have literally covered up the contributions of his collaborators,
including performances.
If you went and want to get the original John Lucas, John Lucas, what the fuck? That's a fusion powerhouse right there. The John Williams score, you could fucking do that. It's not hard to get 5.1 surround sound. You can isolate the fucking sound. So I think that.
Yeah, but like again, it's just the entire piece. It's the fact that the original piece is no longer available. It's the fact that he has tried to cover up the original piece, because in some ways he's very possessive and he's very embarrassed by choices that he had to make, but like sometimes those accidents are beautiful in their own way.
No.
No.
They're not. I'm sorry. This is like, I know, this is just me, Alfie, being fucking predictable. This
is called projection, Alfie.
This is 100% projection, but I could put myself in someone who's way more smart and way talented shoes. But I will just say, I don't know, man. It might just be the way. Not every artist is like this, but some people are, and I think I'm in the camp with Lucas where, like, if I am the director of the project and I get to decide.
This is why you want to do all the editing and everything on DVDC yourself, so that like you can just
Because if
you
it
can
gets
say
archived,
when we
I
want to
don't
go
have
back to it.
Because if it gets archived and I had a fucking sound effect, I don't want you in fucking 20 years coming like, actually, that sound effect you added, it kind of ruins a line of dialogue I wrote out. People like, fuck you! So, like, no, alright, you can disagree, but, like, I want it to be on record, so it could get archived, and you can add as many sound effects, and when you upload this, Ian, you have the right, as the director of this Geeky Gentleman episode, to edit out this entire rant I've been on. That is your...
No, I mean, I think it's an
But I just
interesting
wanted to be on
conversation.
record that I think it's bullshit that Lucas gets as much shit. It's his fucking... Those are his fucking films. He gets to decide what they look like.
It is his films, but like also the original cut had an impact on culture, and it's weird to see that, you know, removed. And it's also just, again, there's a level of he's just playing with it too much, and it's not actually adding things. Like I think some of the added CGI is actively detrimental to the film, and not just because it looks really dated, but like there's that scene where they first pull into Mos Eisley, and like you literally have like CGI dinosaur walk across the frame and cover up entire parts of those opening shots of Mos Eisley, and that's actively detrimental to the establishing of the film.
Well, and I mean, to also go with your point about covering up the work of his collaborators, this movie is massive for props and model work and all of that. And when you talk about the final action sequence, where you've got all of the TIE fighters and the X-Wings going around the sky blowing shit up, that model work took hundreds and hundreds of hours, and so much of it just gets erased into CGI. And like that's not attempting to fix and play with your toys, that's actively erasing someone's contribution, and that's kind of fucked up. It's like I would take that as like a personal insult if I spent that many hours working on something and Lucas was just like, "We'll do it with CGI." Like, no, that's like actively a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Boba Fett's original voice actor getting replaced with Tamara Morrison, and it's like,
yeah,
that's cool that there's universe consistency, but like, fuck off, man. That was like someone's performance, and like, yeah, it's his right as a creator to go back and do those things. That doesn't mean he fucking should. And like, I also think that on some level, you have to like put yourself in the shoes of like, I think that the cultural impact of Star Wars causes you to have a slightly different approach to this argument in the first place, because yes, of course, it's his artwork. He can go back and do whatever the fuck he wants to it. On some level, Star Wars has had such a cultural impact. Isn't there a level of like discussion of responsibility to archiving one of the most important films in the canon of cinema? Like, isn't that something that is worthwhile? And I'm not trying to give George Lucas shit, because I'm not one of those people who's like the, you know, George Lucas raped my childhood or whatever. But I have to let out a very confused, like, George, why? Like, you have to understand the position. Like, you have to get why people are not happy. And I don't want to make this whole thing about George Lucas, because even with the edits in place, it's still a great film. But most of the edits are nothing but detrimental, and it's just.
I
understand the man's right to do it, but
I wouldn't even say most of them are detrimental, because there's a lot of like subtle ones that you would not know unless you looked at it side by side.
Well,
like
sure.
there's a cool one that someone pointed out where in the original cut, like all the labels on the Death Star for like the controls and stuff it's in the original cut, it's just English. In the special editions, it's been changed to the like galactic alphabet for Star Wars. And I think that's a really cool touch and really cool addition. And I can tell George is a very detail focused guy, and I like little changes like that. Not gonna lie. I think, again, I am 100% that I would enjoy the special editions a lot more if just the original, for its cultural importance, was still preserved. And it's the fact that, you know, you're right, Alfie. He is the artist. He has the right to go back to it and make whatever he wants and say, this is the definitive version. Because we've done that with director's cuts. That's what Ridley Scott did with Blade Runner. Matt brought up that point earlier. You know, the original theatrical cut of Blade Runner is not Ridley Scott's vision, and that is not as impactful as Star Wars, because very few things are, but very close, you know, knocking on that same door as important to sci-fi as Star Wars was. And yet the thing is, even though that everyone kind of universally agrees that the subsequent cuts of Blade Runner are the better versions of that film, the film itself, the theatrical cut, is still preserved. It still exists. It's still accessible. And it's not just the fact that Lucas has tried to put out, you know, the special editions. It's the fact that he has actively attempted to cover up. Like, what's the quote? Because there was one VHS release of the original cut, and Lucas said eventually the celluloid, the tapes that exist of that will break down, and the only cut that will be available is the special editions, and that's the way I want it. And I think that's kind of wrong. That's kind of like trying to alter history, and that really bugs me. I just want to take this opportunity to plug a really, really, I think, important and really, really cool fan project. Star Wars has, of course, so many of those, but there's the despecialized editions project that someone did, because one of the releases of the film in their before the special editions was on Laserdisc, which was the best quality that existed at the time. And so it still had some errors to it, and so fans have taken that, mashed it together with releases from the Blu-ray, and done a lot of like very meticulous the work on editing that these fans have done is on the same tier as someone restoring, you know, a painting, because they've gone through and they've basically recolor corrected George Lucas's color correction of scenes to make it look more like its original 70s stock. It's kind of shocking to see how kind of garish some of the edits are, though, because like there's a side by side you can see of Leia in the detention hallway, and you can see original 70s coloring and like 2011 highlights and coloring, and she looks fucking purple by comparison when you put her side by side. She legit like he's boosted the saturation in Vegas and just made this poor woman look purple. And it's kind of like just fascinating to see the fact that some fans cut together and have released, I'm pretty sure you can still torrent this, the despecialized editions. So I've always meant to get a hold of those, but it just never got around to it. But I just think it's a really cool fan effort that they, you know, it's like even despite George Lucas's best efforts, the fans have reassembled the original theatrical cut. Cool. I love when this keeps happening. It's great.
No, it's good. I do want to say as well, because we've been talking about edits so much as well, and like those edits are phenomenally, and I've got next to my editions of like the Star Wars trilogy things, I went out and fucking got like custom covers and custom Blu-ray things and burnt those on, just so I got a physical copy of those as well, because they are fan edit.
So wait.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Stop the fucking train here.
Go
Okay.
on.
He's the artist. He can do whatever he wants to it.
Exactly. Right.
Has fucking found himself the despecialized editions.
Yeah.
And burnt them onto Blu-ray discs?
Yeah, and if the fucking Treasury wants me to mail it to them, they know my fucking number.
You fucking piece of garbage. Alfie, you're fucking trash. I hate you so much.
So like,
a geek for fraud.
It's Geeks for Fun, YouTube.com. You know, you can send me a DM on Twitter, they're always open. But like the fucking fanets community in Star Wars is very much, I think, because of A New Hope being so dependent on an edit and like inspiring people, and all of that is in an era where fucking people are having meltdowns on Twitter when they get the slightest bit of provocation from a Lucasfilm employee, and then making hundreds of thousands of Star Wars expose videos about them. Sometimes it's nice to be able to look at projects like that and remind us, no, Star Wars fans can be actually really cool sometimes, and like there is something worthwhile here. So while we're on that train of thought, I did want to get that across about just some Star Wars fans, not me, of course, because I'm garbage, but like Overwatch are pretty stellar.
Well, and
I fucking hate
on
you
that
so
same
much right now,
notion,
Ellie.
Star Wars being as big of a hit as it was, as immediately as it was, and just a little bit beforehand when it didn't have its theatrical release yet, but it was gearing up for it, really revolutionized the whole idea of having fandoms in the first place. Like, comic conventions are a thing because of Star Wars.
That's not true. You had Star Trek.
No, you
before
did,
that.
but like Star Wars is the thing that brought comic conventions to a massive public scene like it never was before.
And I
absolutely,
don't think
absolutely.
merchandising for films or franchises happened anywhere even close to the scale that it happened for Star Wars. And George Lucas is certainly a very he's actually a very good businessman, as much as he is a creative in his foresight to secure those merchandising rights, because I mean that is a massive part of the Star Wars empire that is of course separate, from the film itself as a piece, but it is certainly hard to separate from the franchise.
I mean, on the
before
merchandising, go ahead,
Steve.
sorry.
Before Star Wars, you had basically just the idea of a bunch of people getting together in small hotel rooms, just kind of hanging out, and maybe there'd be a presentation here and there, and that was fine. And then Star Wars showed up on the scene, did the exact same thing, showed up with a bunch of costumes and stuff, and tried to make it like a bigger press deal. And then Star Wars was released, and it went from that to selling out entire stadiums and convention floors. And part of that was fans starting to do cosplays, and very, very early on, the whole expanded universe kicking into high gear almost immediately after the movie. Like you said, Matt, with all of the merchandising and stuff that went down, like it's because Star Wars became such a big deal overnight that you have an active, engaged fandom community the way you do, for better or for worse.
Yep, I was waiting for that one. I mean, I don't really want to talk about toxic fandoms and stuff. I really don't. I want to talk more about just.
I've got something about the movie itself. If you want to segue.
Yeah, let's. Toxic fans exist and they suck. Bye.
So like the thing about merchandising that you said, Matt, is the crazy thing about why that was successful with this, and just in terms of like sheer wow factor. How many iconic things just come from this alone? Which is like the like TIE fighters,
X-wings, lightsabers,
Darth
Vader,
Princess Leia's hair, Mos Eisley, Tatooine, Alderaan, the space battles,
C-3PO,
Jedi mind
R2-D2, the fucking every alien in Mos Eisley, the Jawas,
the fucking Cantina song.
Oh yeah.
The whole score. You can go to quotes, right? And that is on a level that has not been matched since, and I don't think will ever be matched. Like even other Star Wars movies don't come close to just like we talk about like how cool and like mythic and mythological like Batman and Superman are. Batman and Superman are fucking amateurs compared to Star Wars right out the gate, with literally everything near enough that we associate with Star Wars and just sci-fi tropes in general, and everything came out of this film. So that's why merchandise fucking blew up like nothing else, because there had never been a single thing that came out with this much stuff of all these different variants you can buy, all from one film. It's a marvel. I have no idea how it came across. Like it takes people years to build up to half the stuff that is in this one screenplay and in these certain models and everything. And that is truly a magical collaborative thing of a moment in time. That again, it just how did they do it?
And again, I think that's to the fact of the collaboration, the fact that Lucas brought on so many talented people, and like so much of the production of this film is just a fucking shit show. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like what was the fucking thing? Jamie Stangroom, who is a YouTuber I quite enjoy. He does a series called "These Are the Actors You're Looking For," where he just interviews a lot of the like fucking nobodies of Star Wars, of the guys who are like he interviewed the little person who puppeteered Jabba the Hutt's tail for one of his videos. It's great. And he interviews people. There's like so many behind the scenes like stories and just crazy things that just happened in the making of these films, that this film in particular, but all of them. That's just so fascinating to me, and I just love it all so much. There's like an energy, there's a vibe to it that's just so cool. Like there's a great These Are the Actors You're Looking For with the guy who physically portrayed Greedo, and that's got a lot of fun stories in it too. I definitely recommend Jamie Stangroom's thing. He did an entire documentary about the stormtrooper that bumps his head, because there's like this is like a big controversy. There are like 3 guys that all said, "Oh no, that was me. I was the stormtrooper that bumped my head in the film," and like they were all calling each other liars. And so he got 2 of the 3 guys. One of them died. He got 2 of the 3 guys to fucking like take lie detector tests and talk about it. And then you got like a jury together to debate about who did it. He like got stormtrooper armor and helmet like fittings done. It's a whole ass production. Empire Strikes Door. Great thing. I cameo in it. It's great. I love it. I cameo by a picture of me shows up because I supported the thing on a Kickstarter. It's good ass fan film. Great thing. Anyway, fucking love that shit. But yeah, just cool stuff like that, and the making of it's such a cool collaborative effort, because it's not just Lucas's baby. There's so much going on behind the scenes of the film that's just Star Wars is one of those things where the making of story behind it, you could do like a fucking encyclopedia on all of that.
That's like I was watching fucking have you seen Mandalorian?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, there are Tuscan Raiders in it, and that's the only spoiler I'm throwing out. I was watching Mandalorian, and these Tuscan Raiders do that thing where they hold their sticks above their head and like kind of shake them like up and down, and I'm just like, it blows my mind that the only fucking reason that they do that is because in the original movie a Tuscan Raider did it, and the only reason the Tuscan Raider did it in the original movie is because in the original cut he holds his gaffy stick above his head once and then brings it back down. And they decided it needed more energy, so they just rewound it and played it back, so it's just like going back and forth above his head. I'm like, that's it. That's the only reason. And now like the Mandalorian has them doing it like it's like a thing that they do, and I'm just like, it's fucking amazing. And I every time I watch this movie, I look for it. When Luke gets knocked down by the Tuscan Raider and he holds this thing above his head, if you're watching it and you know what to look for, you can literally see that it's just the shot being reversed and then played back and then reversed and then played back.
I fucking love that. I never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
great.
yeah,
I
fucking
love
watch
shit
it.
like
It's
that,
insane. Man. It's I'm just like, that's fucking amazing.
And I think the interesting thing is there's shit like that in literally every movie. Like there's times where you just need that like extra minute or something. But Star Wars is, I'm hesitant to say the only, but I feel like it's gotta be the biggest of just people devote so much time to going through like every frame of the film and finding stuff like that, you know? That just fascinates me, like how how meticulous, how every little trick of Star Wars has kind of been dissected and disseminated and understood, and that's only served to make it better. I feel like you do that with any other movie, and it would just like degrade it in some way, but it's just made Star Wars like all the more like magical, because then it's like, seeing a magic trick as a kid, and then instead of having it explained to you and figuring out how it actually worked being disappointing, falling in love with sleight of hand because of the explanation, because the explanation is like so much more fantastic than the illusion even was. And I feel like that's Star Wars to me.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking love this movie, man. All right, so we've I feel been pretty positive. Like, we've talked about a couple negative things here and there, but we've been pretty positive. And you just can't do that with Star Wars.
Yep.
The problem with Star Wars is it sucks. It's the worst thing ever.
Correct.
So, do we want to spend just a minute or two? Like, do you want to do like what is your Star Wars fan nitpick? Like, this is dumb and it's stupid. Not like an objectively intriguing argument like we had about the special editions, but like, what is your Star Wars nitpick of A New Hope in particular?
Okay, I'm gonna go first because I know no one agrees with me, and it's a massive one that goes through the whole saga. R2-D2 and C-3PO are annoying as fuck, and I hate them so much. I hate them so much. They just need to die. C-3PO will never fucking shut up, and R2's just a dick.
Dude, fucking R2 tricking Luke into removing his restraining bolt and then just fucking yeeting himself out. Like, that shit's amazing. It's so good.
And fucking C-3PO, like, he hides in a corner until Luke comes down. He goes, "Oh, forgive me, Master." And I'm like, dude, what, did fucking R2-D2 lock you in that room or something? You could have gone and told them.
Steve was waiting for Luke to pick him up at Tashi Station, and all of this shit happened because those fucking droids. But no, I actually, Steve knows this, but I am 100% agreement with half of his statement. I don't get C-3PO. What is C-3PO just needs to fucking leave. See, I only like C-3PO in Rise of Skywalker. Every other film C-3PO is in, he's fucking insufferable. So like, I disagree. I think R2's the best, but R2 should have been a fucking one-man band. He's being held back.
Oh, fuck is this heresy that I'm listening to?
So is that your nitpick, Alfie, or did you have a
I
different one?
will double down with Steve because
Okay.
I'm the C-3PO half.
All right. How about you, Matt? What's your Star Wars nitpick?
Like, they storm the detention center and they make a big show of them shooting out all the cameras in the detention center, but then I'm just like, but there's no cameras for like stormtroopers to be looking at monitors and just be like, hey sir, yeah, we got like a senile looking man heading towards the fucking tractor beam, should we do something about that? No, that's good, that's fine. Like, shit like that. I'm just like, and like, my biggest issue with this movie is still the redundant like Jabba added scene. Like, that's like my biggest like technical issue with the film, because it's a flaw and it should be gone. But like, shit like that, I just always think is funny, is that the inconsistency of fucking cameras in the Star Wars universe. Because Rey does the same shit. Like, Rey just sneaks through Starkiller Base, and I'm like, do they not have fucking? That's like my only nitpick that I can really think of that's like super nitpicky and complaining.
Man, that should have been like a whole ass episode of Rebels, because Rebels was so good about doing that, of like taking the really little stuff and kind of like turning it into a big ass struggle. Just fucking security cameras being the main threat in an episode would have been great.
Yeah, because they're so inconsistently used in the franchise that I'm just like, so we're gonna shoot him out here, but Obi-Wan's just like, I'm walking through the Death Star. And I'm just like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about Imperial facilities, it's a good thing we're not talking about Empire, because then the second biggest problem is that no one fucking has railings anywhere.
Oh yeah, there's no railings when the fucking Death Star laser shoots out. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, man, we should really put a railing here. This is kind of dangerous.
I think what is the Family Guy joke about it, where they're like, I asked them about it, and they said if they put a railing here, they're afraid we'd be leaning on it. I was like, that's hilarious.
That's really good.
I'm like, that's really good.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I fucking love shit like that. Alright, mine's pretty ridiculous because I don't know. I feel like this is probably like a legitimate problem with the movie, but I don't care. I just love it. And that's just the fucking the fact that like so little of this franchise was thought out, despite everything that George Lucas says. We're like, I don't know, I everything all along Vader was gonna be his dad. The fucking Luke Leia sister thing. It's so infuriating to go back and watch this movie because it's just so clear that is not meant to be the case, because you get like the kisses and things, you get like the whole conversation with Luke and Han. He's like, you think she could like a guy like me? No, I don't. I'm like, God, Luke, you got it real bad for your fucking sister. But then there's just like, it's such a wrecked thing because it just makes so many other scenes really awkward. The fact that like Vader interrogated Leia and got nothing from her and still didn't realize, Vader, the chosen one of the Force, didn't realize that he was in a room with his fucking daughter. That one just kills me, man.
That's one of those things where it's just like Kylo Ren fucking just reads people's minds. And he's like, boom, I got the information I need. And I'm like, are you telling me that Kylo Ren, this little punk ass bitch that everyone apparently thinks is a punk ass bitch, is a better at like using the Force to interrogate people than Darth Vader? And the real answer to that is just George Lucas hadn't thought of that power yet. So like,
Yep, 100%. Like it's perfectly explained away by like real world things, but it's so incredibly infuriating and like awkward in universe, and like it continues into all three movies, like of the original trilogy. The Luke Leia like will they won't they-ness continues, and it's so awkward because it's in the second one. There's like the real big, oh, I bet you're jealous kiss, and that's the one everyone focuses on. But like even in fucking Jedi, there's like a weird moment where they kiss real quick, and I'm pretty sure Luke knows by that point, and it's even weirder. So that's my go-to.
I also love the like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru when they're talking, and they're like, oh, he's not meant to be a farmer. He's got too much of his father in him. I'm like, what do you know? Like, how much do you? Are you like, do you get what you're saying, or like, did Obi-Wan just be like, yeah, I don't know what happened to his dad. I don't like how much do they know? Like,
I mean, they met Anakin.
Like they met him, but like
he fucking went and slaughtered all those sand people.
Well, and she's just like, oh, he's got too much of his father in him. He's gonna go like, fucking go ham on some Tuscan Raiders. And Owen's over there just like, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to
fucking hyped if he knew Luke was gonna go ham. He's like, you know what? Actually, that's headcanon, right? Is fucking Luke says wob rats because he doesn't want to come off as politically incorrect, but fucking Uncle Owen 100% was like, hey, your dad used to take care of these fuckers for me. Do you want to get the gun out, light up the shot? That's where that fucking Tuscan Raider comes from. Luke is trying to revenge his fallen brothers, man.
I also love my favorite, I was watching this with Carly. That line always makes us laugh. And these blast points to only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. It fucking gets me. Especially because I'm like, well, no, Tuscan Raiders are sitting there taking pot shots at pod racers and actually hitting them. Are you meaning to tell me that a stormtrooper would be a better shot than them? Like, I just love
There's a really cool headcanon that I like, or fan canon, I guess. That it's not the stormtroopers that take out the sandcrawler and kill Owen and Beru. It's fucking Boba Fett.
Oh shit!
God, that's fucking hype right there. Because he's on Tatooine at the time, and there's no reason the Empire wouldn't have hired bounty hunters. I'm like, that's fucking good. Fucking good. And that's why Vader's all like, no disintegrations in the next movie. Because fucking disintegrated Owen and Beru. I'm like, that's fucking good. I like that one. I really like that fan theory. Oh. Alright, so we've done our obligatory negatives.
Wait.
Oh, you're changing your mind?
No, I just want to talk about this one because it just came to me. How the fuck did that monster thing get on the Death Star?
Oh, the Dianoga?
I mean,
I don't know.
I just assumed that, like... Well, I mean, like, it's a fucking dingy trash thing. Like, what if it just grew up there? Like, it just started life as, like, a little parasite, and then it just grew to its environment?
Wasn't Vader like a piece of... Wasn't there like a piece of canon at some point where they're like, oh, sometimes they purposefully put Dianoga on their ship as a way to, like, do stuff to the trash or some shit. I remember that being a thing.
I'd imagine that is probably the canon reason.
I mean, maybe. It's also just a really good fucking monster to... Like, you guys don't have a monster in your trash can? What? Fucking weirdos?
I call him Smokestack.
Dianoga are exactly like Sarlacc in that anytime I actually look at a depiction of the full thing, I just get creeped out. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Wait, there's like art of the full thing?
Of the full Dianoga, yeah. It's like got a whole fucking octopus body below the eyeball, and it just freaks me out.
Okay, give me a second here. I've never seen this before.
It creeps me out in the same way that looking up the cross-section of the Sarlacc freaks me out.
I fucking love this. So I'm Google imaging Dianoga, right? And I just pull up the first image that's like a full body to get a better look at it. And the way that I've got my windows all laid out and everything right now is I got the Dianoga's body, and then I've got my little Skype overlay window with Matt's fucking Eggman freaking out face perfectly positioned at where the head would be. It's just funny. Meh. It's, I don't know. I guess H.R. Geiger has spoiled me on creepy monster designs at this point.
No, it's not that. It's not that I find the monster design inherently creepy. It plays into a specific, like, I guess, phobia that I have of like things that are huge but you can't see like how big they are. Like that just creeps me out. Like I don't like that.
I just think it's disgusting and terrifying.
Well, yeah, that too.
Oh, hey, there's the Lego Dianoga. That's cool. It's actually pretty simple. Neat. All right. So do we have anything else we want to talk about with Star Wars? It's pretty lame, right?
Yeah, nah.
No one likes Star Wars.
Especially those
all right.
Special editions, man.
I know, those are the fucking worst.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes.
Alfie, so do you still have your Blu-ray burner? Question mark.
Yeah. Why?
Can I get some copies of the despecialized editions?
Yeah, maybe if you take back some of your nastiness, whenever you found out, then we could start talking.
I just can't believe you fucking sat there and fucking grifted me for like 20 minutes about the artist's vision. Like, if you had any fucking integrity whatsoever.
I can't believe you have to ask this question after how long we've known each other. I thought I made myself very clear on what a fucking sellout I am.
Fraud for fun. Yeah. All right. Well, do we want to do a rating on Star Wars? Is there any point? Do we want to just do one for shits and grins? I'll fucking do it. All right. I want to give Star Wars fucking 0 out of 5 because it's garbage and it's the worst film ever made and I love it so much. 0 out of 5. What?
For me, this reminds me of better days, back before those fucking SJWs came in and ruined what I find to be a perfect, untouchable franchise. And like even those fucking prequels that came after it kind of shit on the bed and, did everything. But like, at least they weren't fucking talking about politics. Am I right, fellas? So,
right.
For me, the ones that I'm gonna have to give it is I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5. Tarkins who will not leave in their moment of triumph.
I don't know. I mean, here's my thing. Revisiting this, I just feel like Luke is a little bit of a Gary Stu. I mean, it's kind of weird that he can outfly trained pilots, and all he's ever done is just fly like a little crop duster. So I think that's a little weird. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it like a, I don't know, probably like 5 out of 5. Graflex camera holders that got turned into the lightsaber hilt.
Camera collectors really hate Star Wars fans because that specific part is now very hard to come by, and because all the Star Wars fans bought them up to make their own fucking lightsabers out of.
I know. I feel so bad for anyone who's just like really into antique cameras.
I don't know. I feel like Star Wars has outgrown Star Wars, and we really just don't need to watch this Star Wars movie anymore to understand Star Wars, because it doesn't get it, you know? It's got so many continuity errors, and it makes all these mistakes about what the Clone Wars were and what Anakin was about, and I can't deal with that. So I'm gonna give it -5 out of 5 burnt up bodies of Anakin's family, because that's canon and important.
Nice. All right. Who's got next?
Are we not just doing rock paper scissors from now on? I thought that was the rule.
How do you do rock paper scissors with 4 people?
I don't know.
You watched the.
I guess I'm out.
You know how that.
Okay, I'm out since it was my pick. So the 3 of you do rock paper scissors.
All right, Matt. Let's fucking go. All right.
How do we do rock paper scissors over
trust? I believe in you, and you believe in the me that believes in you. Okay, 3, 2, 1, rock. Ah, fuck. 3, 2, 1, paper.
Scissors.
Ah, you son of a fuck.
All right. Now it's between Matt and Steve.
All right. 1, 2, 3, paper.
Scissors.
God damn it.
Fucking scissoring everyone.
Goddamn Matt with your lesbian agenda.
I feel bad. I picked the last review discussion, or not review topic, but just discussion topic, and then I couldn't even fucking make it.
Yeah.
Can I defer? Can I pick the person who will pick the one?
Sure.
I picked...
Yeah, you can if you want.
Okay. Hang on. I have a die.
We're fucking. I like this new era of Geeky Gentlemen.
Okay. All right.
Very
Steve.
complex.
All right. Okay. So Steve read
I
this.
just want to fucking write the fucking bylaws down.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
On a 4-person episode, the person who picked the topic will sit out. The remaining 3 will play rock paper scissors. Of the winner of those matches, a die will be rolled to determine who decides to decide.
They have
right,
the choice to defer if required.
All right. This is a Vampire the Masquerade die. So on a success roll, it'll be Steve. On a fail roll, it'll be Alfie.
Okay, I'll pretend to not take that in a way, but you know.
Okay, cool. It landed on a critical success roll, so I guess that's Steve.
Oh yeah. I've been doing a topic, right?
Is a critical success. Yeah,
technically you can, or you just do whatever. I don't fucking care anymore.
Oh, well.
I don't have the energy for this shit. I'm a father.
We broke him with the die.
That actually gives me a pretty good idea, because I didn't have one before, but I kind of do now, which is the best mentor characters in fiction.
Okay, you want to do a list?
Yeah, let's do a list. Let's do a list of our top 10 mentor figures in fiction.
Oh, geez.
All right, and just to remind everyone, a top 10 Geeky Gentlemen, when we have 3 people, is we each do 3 plus an honorable mention. How does that break down with 4 people? Or is it a top 12 list, question mark?
I'm down to make it a top 12 list. That makes more sense.
So we each do 3?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's plan for that. Everyone have 3 plus an honorable mention, so have 4 picks, basically.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a fucking top 12, whatever. Fucking trash. This fucking channel's a joke. That's why it's only got 7,500 subscribers after after over fucking 10 years of being active.
Yeah, this is the one that's going to blow up because this is where
Yeah,
it all fell
yeah.
apart.
Yeah, like this is gonna be the most popular episode too, because it's the most fucking basic appeal to the masses bullshit. Because people just fucking love Star Wars so much because they have such fucking trash taste. They don't appreciate actual cinema. Anyway, until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am calling out Star Wars Fairy. That's right. Come and comment on this video, you fuck. That's all his fans. Come and comment on this video right now, you fuck. I'm calling you out Star Wars Fairy for fun. I
am the Star Wars erotica lover. Come read my Reylo fanfics. They're really good. I have a great one that I think everyone should read. So go check it out.
Like I'm like 90% sure he's serious.
I mean, I was gonna read it.
I'm already hard.
Oh man. No, I don't have any written Reylo fanfics. I could probably recommend some upon request, though. So.
God damn.
Okay, that tracks.
And I am a Star Wars themed cyber dragon that cost $80,000 for some reason.
Nice.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
okay. All right, everyone. Until next time, we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.